Hello, and welcome to the Gaia update for the Aquarius full moon that's happening on July 23rd and 24th, 2021. So this full moon is happening just after the sun moves over into Leo, and the full moon is when the sun and the moon are directly opposite each other in the sky. So this puts this full moon at 1.5 degrees Aquarius. This is really interesting because that is an initiatory degree. This very beginning of a sign has an energy of like an excitement and an anticipation of moving into this energy. And how amazing as we sit poised on the edge of shifting over into the Aquarian Age. Because Jupiter is early degrees of Pisces, 0 degrees Pisces, for this full moon, in exact square to Black Moon Lilith at 0 degrees Gemini. Now, Jupiter is retrograde and hanging out at this 0 degrees Pisces. This is the exact point of the shift of ages. The shift of ages from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age, it goes backwards through the signs. It's like the backdrop is shifting of our reality. And so 0 degrees Pisces is exactly that point right before the shift into Aquarian age. It's really interesting in astrology, the energy of the cusps, because each sign, the signs of the zodiac shift. And that's why it's like this is an archetypal pattern that plays out everywhere in nature. And this pattern is there's a masculine, feminine signs. And so they're very different from each other. So at the cusp, it's a very strange energy because you can't really be a little of one or a little of the other. It's a very confusing place. And it's like you're moving out of one energy and into another energy. And so it seems like there'd be this mix of energies. But actually at the end of the sign and the beginning of the next sign, there's actually a bloom of those energies. So a bloom of completion and then an initiatory energy into the other energy. So how does that happen? How do we go from one energy to the next energy? There's one point. And that's this 0 point. This place we're at. We are poised at the precipice of this Aquarian age. Jupiter is one of the planets that affects us the most. It's got a huge energy. It sets the stage of our reality. A big planet, but not as far out and slow moving as the other planets. And visible in the sky. So Jupiter has this big energy of this shifting generational energies. Speaking to that Saturn-Jupiter conjunction that just happened in December. So Jupiter moved its way fully through Aquarius and now went 2 degrees into Pisces and retrograde 0 degrees till the end of the month. Jupiter and Black Moon Lilith having just moved over into Gemini. Very powerful energy because this is a T-square. Now, this week leading up, just the day before this full moon, Venus comes into this T-square. Venus comes into an opposition. Venus moving into Virgo, coming into an opposition with Jupiter in at the beginning degrees of Pisces there. Now, Venus is our feminine. And Virgo is about cleaning up, sorting through, organizing, and getting rid of what you don't need anymore. Purification. So we're talking about purification, a new era, a new beginning, a new age. And it has to do with the purification of the feminine and healing the wounds and the shadow and the dark side of the feminine with that square with Black Moon Lilith at 0 degrees Gemini. Now, we've talked about how the feminine mysteries and our intuitive knowing, that's what got buried in the Atlantean age. And literally we're unearthing our deep and profound gifts and skills that we didn't even know we had. that were buried under the rubble and buried with the secret teachings, the ancient secret teachings that we all were taking a part of and experiencing and working with in Atlantean time as a supernova soul. So we're excavating these treasures, and there's a huge correlation with this and the shift of ages. Now, Black Moon Lilith in 0 degrees Gemini is about the communication of the dark side of the feminine. And guess what? When it comes out into the light and is expressed again in our world, we see that the feminine actually isn't shadowy and dark the way they told us it was. It all has to do with the burying and the secrets and the distortions and the lies. And it's time for truth. It's time for disclosure. It's time for you to be disclosed as the treasure that you are. Because it is a time of unveiling of our precious gifts. But your most precious gift is the one that's furthest away, furthest hidden from you, and the most valuable. Is this why it's so hard right now to find any direction or make any decisions? Because, we don't know who we are. We don't know. There's this feeling like something big is trying to happen in the world and impossible to plan ahead. We had months of retrograde energy, just total confusion. Mutable and retrograde and eclipses, right? Mutable energy is like the adjustment. Oh, wait, no, maybe we want to do it this way. Oh, let's try this out. So it's not about pushing in direction and moving forward. That's cardinal. Cardinal signs are the starters, and then fixed signs are the completion. And so mutable signs are just in between trying to figure out what needs to happen for the next step. And this is actually a really great metaphor for a lot of messages coming through around how we move forward and manifest and in this new age. And it's very, very different. Going back to this cusp energy. Huge message coming through right now. It's like, you guys, I know it feels like it's taking forever and we're stuck here at the edge. And what do we need to do? It's like constant astrology for years saying, oh, how do we move into the Aquarian Age, right? But the message is like the Aquarian Age of like the full expression of humanity that needs to happen in that paradigm is so different from how we're living now. It's so different. And so when you come to that edge of the shift into the next, when you make it to the top of the hill and then you're going down into the new energy, it's very, very different. So this is part of the confusion and misdirection because we're figuring out a whole different way to navigate. And it has to do with getting out of our own way. So it's a very, very powerful energy. And so this week with Venus coming into just the day before this full moon, coming into that direct opposition with Jupiter. Jupiter is about, at the beginning of Pisces there, how do we expand back into spiritual connection, back into our God consciousness, back into our full realization of what it means to be a human soul in a body on earth, aware of itself as God consciousness. This coming back into living and breathing the revelation of the ecstatic existence of life itself, coming outside of the matrix and back into truly living. And but it's like speaking to how we need to claim back the magic and mystical revelation of the Piscean age in order to get out of the nightmare of the Piscean age. And it has to do with the purified feminine and Gemini, Black Moon Lilith and Gemini, that purified, empowered feminine having a voice in our world, in our life, in our moment-to-moment existence, and in the way we choose to live our life. Hey, let's try to take care of each other on the planet and see if that works a little bit better than all of this false control, contrived financial systems, slavery, financial and medical tyranny. The Aquarian Age, we got to do it differently, right? And so, wow, this astrology is so powerful, just speaking to this place we're at. And the purified feminine coming back into expression in this world is how we get back to that mystical spiritual revelation, that perfect balance. Because leading up And for this full moon, we've had this yod in the sky, this finger of God, this destiny point. And that is a sextile between Pluto and Capricorn, Neptune in Pisces, so 2 degrees apart. So sextiles have a magical energy of solutions, creative solutions. We can do this, we can work together. Because if you think about it, the astrological signs go masculine, feminine, right? So it's like these are both feminine signs. So they're like, hey, we got this, we can figure it out. And that's why the yod is like the secret key, because the yod is the opposite side of the zodiac and the point in between those two, which happens to be where Venus is going to be. Mars. Venus just passed this, and now Mars, for this full moon, Mars exact at the tip of this yod. And this is what brings it all together, because we had this Venus-Mars conjunction speaking to that perfect balance of the masculine and feminine, getting back into our heart, overcoming the delusion of separation, overcoming the divide and conquer agenda, exalted feminine, exalted masculine, ready to move into the celebration, the sacred marriage, living that true, full life experience in this sacred marriage energy. You know, if you've ever, it's very kind of rare, but a true soulmate relationship where these people just really are devoted and love each other, and it takes love and the energy. This is what Supernova Souls, a big part of what you came to experience and work with. Do your spiritual work with a spiritual counterpart, right? Because you're demonstrating, you want to demonstrate, part of this, the path of Supernova Soul is demonstrating how to get out of the illusion of separation and back into wholeness. And so this partnership of deep and profound soulmate love, if you've ever had, been around that energy, it just brings this beautiful aura of peace and harmony. And so powerful messages. And the way this all is lining up for us is so crazy. And that Mars is in Leo at the point of the yod, the destiny point between the structures of power that have held us back and the delusions of the Piscean age that have kept us from our own God source. Boom. Right across the way, the finger of God pointing the way, very, very important. And Mars is there for this full moon. And that is, Mars will be an exact in conjunct relationship to Pluto, finishing up this yod for this full moon. And so the destiny point is Mars in Leo. Mars is where the action, it's like the execution of will and action. And so we're talking about in Leo, actively with our will, expressing our God light. That's how we get out of the trap. That's how we get out of the old stories. That's how we get this ball rolling and get this boulder up to the top of the hill so we can get on with the next chapter. Now, there's an interesting energy because also leading up to this full moon, very important energies, setting the stage for this full moon in Aquarius. The sun has been opposite of Pluto just before it moves over into Leo. It moves over into Leo on the 22nd. And so the sun opposite Pluto is very powerful because the sun is who we are and our identity. And opposite Pluto, we're talking about the control structures that have kept us from our potential and kind of reconciling that after all this other astrology. And the combination of this and Mercury in square to Chiron. Mercury in Cancer now completed its retrograde energy in Cancer, square to Chiron in Aries, and that's these wounds over where we've given our life force and our power away. And what's going on, Mercury rules the mind, right? And so there's a huge opportunity here with this combination of astrology leading up to this Aquarius full moon to really take advantage of. I'm seeing energies of really big, maybe family patterns, karmic patterns. Now, these have to do for Supernova Souls with situations where something played out in the past life that had to do with you being either exiled, cast aside, brought to heel, or killed, or something where you were targeted in your light in the Piscean age. That was just part of the stories of the Piscean age. Now, these karmic things are coming up, and they have to do with your family often, or groups of people. It might be those friendships that close friendships, but you didn't understand what the dynamic is. There's an energy going on of like huge energy. It feels like it's huge, insurmountable. It's like, oh my God, the same pattern. I thought I dealt with it. I can't believe it's back here. I feel so trapped by it. I'm never going to get out of this. And then it shifts. And there's a powerful energy of like going along with this different way to navigate. It's a different way to address these karmic issues of like, oh no, here it is again, of like putting your consciousness on it. Okay, I'm going to just fully put my conscious on it. Not trying to figure it out, not trying to judge it, not trying to sort it through or get, the story can be really helpful, but can you be open to it in neutrality? And just the energy of putting our consciousness and attention on it in a neutral way can bring massive shifts. The shifts are just waiting to happen. And it's this huge energy that feels so big, like, oh my God, this big monster. I mean, maybe it's Black Moon Lilith moving over into Gemini, the deepest, darkest secrets coming to light now, being expressed. But it's not as bad as it seems. Okay, now this is really interesting. So that's Sun opposite Pluto is like, wait a minute, I can see where these forces deliberately worked against my light. And this karma has been so difficult and it's playing out everywhere and la la la. And then Mercury in square to Chiron, Mercury, the mind, there's an energy here of escaping mind control. Very, very powerful. Now, it's subtle. You got to really pay attention to this, okay? Because what seems to be being revealed is the mind control programming. Now, these are negative thoughts and beliefs that cycle through your consciousness, and before you know it, you're back down in the weeds, right? You're feeling good. A lot of times it'll come right after you reached a good place of like, I feel centered. I feel I'm okay. I'm in this place of peace. And then all of a sudden you're like, triggered back down into those old stories and the psychological. Now, that energy is showing you exactly now, because there's this connection between the karmic contracts and the stuff being resolved right now and your trigger and psychological mind control that takes you back down into the weeds. And so it's like, wait a minute, and maybe this is the yod energy and the sextile. It's like, wait a minute. That's programming. I'm not going down that road. Very powerful because it's psychological energies trying to keep us in that low vibrational state, using trauma and drama stories. So it's like exactly the karmic story that's clearing out is exactly connected to your specific brand of bad software mind control programming, right? And you go, wait a minute. I don't need to go down there. I've gone down that road. I keep going down that road, and I'm not going to let you use my precious mind power. So just total slipping out of the matrix, right? And so this combination altogether of these things is just so incredibly powerful and potent. So maybe that's the energy for this Aquarius full moon. Initiatory degree, we're poised, we're standing on the edge of the Aquarian age. Now what do? No going back, not quite ready to leap. And there's like a shower of energy, almost like the meteor shower, a shower of energy of this cosmic dust coming in to our world right now, expanding our consciousness and washing away, excuse me, those old stories. And all of a sudden, this big, huge karmic boulder that you've been avoiding for lifetimes, just kind of like, and you know what the key is to that? Oh, you guys really screwed me over, or whatever happened, right? some duplicity, some misleading, some lies, deceit. Oh, you exposed the corruption. That happened a lot, right? And then they had to pay you off or whatever. So big, so big. But it's like, oh, it's almost like we've been programmed in the Piscean age and through this evolution with a storybook. And once you know the plan and your own psychological story, you know, how much of past lives happened or is programmed or is a delusion to keep us trapped in a psychological game. So it's all just like huge opportunity to just don't run from it, right? Don't run from that karmic boulder because it can shift harmoniously. And your energy in that, you know, is about opening your heart. We've had this beautiful Leo activation with this Venus and Mars and Leo together. And it's like opening the heart and being like, okay, whatever that was, the deepest, darkest thing that I haven't been able to address for lifetimes, got me here today. And I forgive you. I forgive you, all of you, for playing out whatever needed to play out. I seek your forgiveness. And we can't keep up the delusion of this fight against each other anymore, right? It's like going out on the battlefield and it's like, oh, and then being like, wait a minute, you're my cousin and my brother and my sister. And what are we doing? Whose idea was this? You know? Massive opportunity to get. It's almost like we've been trying to climb our way out of the matrix. And this is like there's a vacuum coming along. And if you're ready, you know, it's like, okay, me. You're sucked right out and start operating in that paradigm, that energy, that divine timeline that better fits who you really are. Are you ready to receive who you really are? Are you ready to be seen and heard for who you really are? This is Black Moon Lilith coming into Gemini. The sacred expression of all that's been cast aside, demonized within you. And bringing it all into the light and letting all be resolved. Because it's time to move on now. So cool energy and the field of our awareness, our empowerment, our recognition of who we are and what we're doing, not specifically, but that there's a bigger role for us to play. It's so transformative this time, you know, and it definitely feels like an activation. This yacht is an activation of the divine timeline and very individual activation of that unearthing and a invitation. Maybe that vacuum is like an invitation to open that chamber, sacred chamber of your heart that had to be so buried and hidden, and find those treasures that are being revealed in there. So this T-square that's happening for this full moon and the Yod together have an energy of, well, it's interesting because Mars wants to go, right? And as a point of the Yod, it's a destiny. But with the mutable T-square at 0 degrees, we don't know where we're going or where we're coming from yet again, you know? But it's our invitation to be like, but it's time to take action. And so what action are we taking? And Mars and Leo at the point of this Yod is like, it's your destiny. It's time to shine. You don't have to know what that means or exactly what it looks like in order to begin the process. So incredibly powerful. And I hope that you can join me for the live activation, or if you can't make it at the live time, catch the replay for this Aquarius full moon. Incredibly powerful energy. There's definitely like reaching up above the lower matrix and receiving this activation. And there's clarity coming on your way. Your next steps is available, you know, and it has to do, it's like what's behind the curtain and under the boulder of this stuff that's been, it's clearing from the psyche of humanity. Massive psychic healing that could take years is just happening on its own. So know that whenever energy's being moved like that, there's going to be emotional energies moving. There might be physical symptoms. You know, you're going to need more rest. You're going to need more care. And so just sit tight with the knowledge of, or the understanding that there's a lot happening, and to be present. Maybe just be at that still point, right? It's time to take action in opening your heart to love who you are and shining it out into whatever path lays ahead. But it's not a time to take big action with this mutable T-square. It's a time to sit and be present in that Buddha light. Just sit under the Bodhi tree and entertain the idea that what you need will come. You know, line your energy instead of trying to figure out where we're going and what we're doing and how to plan and da-da-da-da-da. None of that shit's working right now, so just stop trying, you know. It's interesting because it's like a bloom of the mutable energy, but moving us into clarity, direction, next steps. So I hope you'll consider joining me for that activation. It's a guided meditation, about an hour, and that's happening at 11 a.m. Mountain Time on the 23rd. And so most of the world, the full moon happens on the 24th, but it'll be the day before in U.S. Mountain Time. I hope to see you there. It's $10. The link to sign up is below. And if you, like I said, if you can't make it live, just go ahead and catch the replay. We're working outside of time. So your intention to join, your signing up, is going to get your questions answered and get that, you know, invite that clarity. And there's definitely a huge awareness growing of the field of aware supernova souls and aware souls on the planet joining together in very deliberate presence. And so I can't wait to experience that with you this Friday. So I look forward to seeing you there or on the next update. Be present in these energies. Something mystical and magical is happening. You know, and there's a story about trauma and drama and gloom and doom, except for that's what we're exiting. So let it fall away. It's the old storybook of the delusions of who we were told we were. Garbage. But we're shining stars. So Mars and Leo at the point of the yod for this Aquarius full moon at the initiatory degree says, time to shine. The stage is set. So I look forward to seeing you there on the activation or the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.